I think my okay. I mean, who should start? Who should start?
Well, I need to sort of hear your. I think what we could do is you can give a short thesis, and then I can give my point of disagreement, and then we can start from there. And you can
Okay,
give,
okay.
your big spiel monologue.
So so the key point, right, is that Taylor Swift, her music absolutely blows. It's so freaking mid, crazy. It is the epitome of, besides Drake, like Drake is the female Taylor Swift. I mean, male. Might as well be female. He's the male Taylor Swift, as in their content is just mass produced. It's all the same. It's wallpaper. It just is in the background. Sucks. It's not even good background music. It is, and plus, furthermore, it breeds the worst type of creative output, even comparatively background. All of it sounds the same. It's all about the same thing over and over. Let me guess. Girl sad, girl broken up, girl drunk, sad. Have I missed a Taylor Swift song? Oh, let me get, girl actually happy, has a good boyfriend for,
Let's go.
then a few songs later, then sad.
Yeah. So
Have I missed a single Taylor Swift? No, I haven't.
yes,
But
you have,
that's my
but
general that's my general thesis. She is the epitome. She is, as E. Michael Jones would put it, the tyranny of pop music. It is just churned. It is unoriginal. It is just made for the mass consumption of these unwashed, low IQ retards. And that's the nicest way of putting it. You know, Swifties are seeds of the music industry. That's a
all right,
wild statement,
here
but
we go. Here we go.
uh,
You
I would
ready?
say
You
it.
ready to hear
I
the
was
real
going to
take,
tie it
or are
into
you done?
architecture, but yeah,
Actually,
sure,
I'll bring up
sure. Or am I
architecture, so
wrong?
that'll become a part of the debate, anyways, because that's part of what I want to bring
Yeah,
up, anyways. Where you're first off, I want to start with this. You said two things. For one, you said it was trash, but you also stated it was mid. My point in entering this conversation is to bring some nuance. I've songwritten before. I'm a producer. I'm no
bro thinks
professional
he's
or
Michael
whatever.
Lofton.
I'm no professional or whatever, but to bring the nuance to the conversation, because you can't in one hand call it terrible and also call it mid, because to say it's mid has some form of quality to it. And since it's to bring to maybe those who find a way to crap on her music all the time. Maybe even if you don't like it, to understand its unique qualities. And then not only to go to say that, but to go further from where me and you disagree actually, which is not only that her music has quality, but actually that it's very important and is an ideal standard for women. Because at every fundamental level, me and you would agree, men and women are different. We believe men and women were created for
Mhm.
certain purposes, and that our bodies, we didn't arrive this way, we were created. So our minds operate differently, our bodies operate differently, and what we find beautiful operates differently. And it sounds like you have this very barbaric view, this male view, because men view things, they like crudeness, they like offensive things, because if you're going to be a provider, you need to be okay with offensive things. Women need to like peace. If you want to be a mother, if you want to, take care of their kids or deal with all these issues that they bring or raise them to not be, these degenerate, ratchet kids, you need peace in your life. And Taylor Swift is the perfect embodiment of peaceful music. That is what it is. It's inoffensive, and that is why it's actually good. If you have women listening to something else, let's say Ice Spice, Kanye West, Tyler the Creator, you would have much worse results for your society than Taylor Swift. And so, in every form of manner of the traditional sector in which you believe in, of the traditional roles, Taylor Swift is far more beneficial for women than something like Kanye West. Kanye West is beneficial for men, but women listen to music too. And so there is a key importance for these artists that make music specifically for women. And Taylor Swift has an ideal standard for what female music should be and ought to be.
Yeah, I actually do appreciate the nuance. I was going to make fun of you for being like a Michael Lofton. You know what I mean? You know who Michael Lofton
I do.
is?
I'm aware.
Okay, yeah, because I was gonna be like, you're a nuance, bro. I think you do bring up something very interesting, but what I would say is to necessarily counter that in a sort of way is the drive or what comes from like what causes Taylor Swift to make a lot of the music. It is a lot of these relationship oriented, right? And if we are to say that these things are to have an influence, they are to bring peace, then we would ought to see from the music this type of more I don't know how would one explain it, more like consistency when it comes to her, like, let's say, own relationship, right? Or we would see like the good influence that she would have in like her choices of men and what have you. But what I would say is the only thing consistently that we've seen is the inconsistency of having a good relationship. I think it kind of creates this ego, this environment, the same way that Kanye kind of creates this sort of erraticness from his fans, this type of uh yeah, I would just say erraticness is the right word. Erraticness, creativity, boundary pushing. I would argue that, and that comes from a lot of Kanye's personal life, as you and I both know. But I would say then we would look at, because that, the personal life is what fuels the music, that her personal life from this type of angle as well would then sort of breed this nonchalant, do what I'm just doing what makes me happy. I'm just strumming my guitar. Ball and like just leads to something that's not transcendent. Although I do agree with a lot of what you said. What I would just say is like take for example her current boyfriend Travis Kelce, right? Is that his name?
Yes, yes.
What is he? He is this
He's like a frat
spur.
boy.
He Yeah, he's a frat boy. He goes to his graduation chugging beer and like or whatever at like the college thing, and he's spurging out on the coach all the time. He's like genuinely tweaking on them. He's like almost getting into fist fights with people.
Bro,
But
tweaking.
if instead what you I would say you want to emulate from that peacefulness would be someone who's on the exact same team, Harrison Butker. Well, what is he? He is part of the FSSP in Nebraska. He is someone who exudes aristocratic element, something we'd see higher of like the transcendence of the soul. And I feel like that's just where I do agree with a lot of what you said. I think it's very interesting. But I would say is that uh, maybe it maybe Taylor Swift is like the first step, if anything, to being on the right track. But then what I would have to say is the issue with uh the size of Swift is just then how impactful she has been on the culture. Cause all like not all, 99% of let's say Swift, or actually, I'll just say more conservative estimate, maybe like 65% of like Swifties that we would know, these would not be then people we would want to having influence in society. These are like the non-idealists. And
It's women.
well, I think yeah, well, no, it's not just that.
It's
But
women
it's like, for example, I go
and
to
gay people.
school and these teachers who have these shit takes on everything, you know what they all have in common? They're Swifties. Or if
Are
they
your
like
are
Kanye,
they
you know
women?
they're
Are they female teachers?
no, no, no. These are I'm naming the men ones, specifically the
Are
male
they
ones.
feminine men? Are they feminine men?
I went one sort of is, but he's still married, has like kids.
Because I would admit everything about her constructional music, the construction of her music is female gardener. That's why her audience is specifically women
Mhm.
and feminine men, like gay men. Like if you're a dude and you like Taylor Swift, that's a bit of an issue. Like it's weird for me to like her. More specifically, it's a lot of it has relevance to me being a songwriter, appreciating different things from a productional standpoint. Uh, but like if I was just like a random dude and I was listening to Taylor Swift, you're a homosexual, okay? So I get it, right? But I think
Mhm.
the point of arrival of your conclusion comes from just like looking at Taylor Swift fans and then being bothered. but that's just women. Because if you really dive deep into
Bro's literally
her
pulling out earlier
compared
in
to
himself.
other, if you compare her to other female artists or artists that women listen to, she is way on the good side compared to Lana, Olivia, who
Mhm.
does Plan B and funds abortion with her concerts, or Drake, who posts nudes online. And like, I mean,
Yeah,
obviously we
but
know why Drake
I'd
is
say the
wrong and he's
biggest issue
feminine.
with Drake is that he's
Or
like a
even like
pedophile.
male artists. Like, I'd rather my daughter listen to Taylor Swift than Kanye West, or another artist I might like Tyler, or another artist I might like, or The Weeknd. I'd rather my daughter listen
Mhm.
to Taylor Swift than, I don't know, some like super angsty rock music I listen to.
I would agree with The Weeknd and Kanye.
Of what
I'm a bit
women listen
mixed
to,
on the
she's on the
Tyler.
good side. Well, his music is barbaric and aggressive. At least something like Igor is. It's very aggressive.
Uh, I some songs in Igor are, but I feel like some are also kind of more oriented to the rom the romantic ideals women try to put forward. So I'm not sure if I'd fully agree with that, but you like Igor, right?
No, I haven't listened to it yet. I've listened to
What?
it's on the list to review. I actually do have the
Dude.
CD right
Oh,
here,
you got the
actually, right
CD?
next to
Dope. I'm
me.
getting the vinyl for it. I just took all my vinyl out the room. Uh, Here. Actually, you know what I'm doing later today? I'm Amazon shopping for more vinyl cleaning material because I'm almost out. Uh, what's that? Do you think Taylor Swift supports the Austrian painter? No, I don't think about that.
Do you
Do
think
you
Taylor
think
Swift
Taylor Swift
supports
supports
Palestine? She
Palestine?
actually did.
I don't
She
know.
did. She did. She went to a diner. She went to a private dinner, and the dinner's purpose was to fund Palestine's efforts against Israel. And she went
Okay,
there and
but
attended there.
okay, you know what? I'll give Taylor Swift that rare W. Okay.
This is the question. To pass, would you rather your daughter listen to this or this? Okay, with people having
Okay.
sex on the CD. People
You're
having
making a
sex.
compelling you're making a compelling point, but what I would still say is, hmm, yeah, I'm trying to figure out how to properly okay, I think you're right on, like, a lot of my issue stems from the just mass amount of influence she doesn't just have on women, but, like, the whole of society, I think is my issue in the sense that in a time to where, we would both agree civilization is to an extent encroaching on a make or break point,
Sure.
that I would much rather have, one of the biggest influences be, a creative, erratic genius than that of, uh, it's just like a pop singer who is like, uh I I don't even know, like, what I'm trying to, like, think of, like, an interesting thing to add on, like, the word erratic, but she doesn't even have anything like that because there's, like, nothing there. It's almost like a blank canvas.
Well, I can get to that in a second. I think in a manner you could describe a lot of her music as minimalist. Maybe that would be something that would help your argument with looking at how things have become minimalist in our art and architecture. A lot of her
Mm,
music is cookie cutter or minimalist in a manner, but I don't think that's a byproduct of Taylor. I think that's a byproduct of music. And in regards to her being popular, women have always, or at least for the last 70 probably years, have dictated who is popular in music. I mean, the Beatles were immensely popular with women. That's why they were on top of the boards. Elvis, immensely popular with women. Frank Sinatra,
Da
actually, even I
yeah,
love Frank
David
Sinatra,
Bowie, all the
immensely
Rat Pack,
popular with
yes.
women. Let's talk about like who was popular in the early 2000s. When Ed Sheeran became really popular, it's because of his relevance with women. Drake, largely being the most popular artist of the last 10 years, is relevant to women. And so I feel like the nitpick with Taylor, I understand, especially as a Kanye fan. There's beef
Mhm.
there. You see Swifties, and in reality, they're acting like women, and women are just annoying to men. But in reality, in the terms of what type of women we're seeing in society, the Swifties are nowhere near as bad as the ratchet black women who are listening to rap and then teaching their kids to, use cuss words and beat people
I will
up
I would
and
say
use physical
I would
violence.
rather Taylor Swift have a lot of influence like Red or an Ice Spice. I will or Nicki Minaj, Cardi B. Uh, I would agree with that. Well, well, some people be
Where I think
DMing
that's,
me
I'll
on
make this real
Discord.
quick. Where I think this is, because I know you want to impulse, make it real quick. I think where that's derivative from is the music itself. Like the reason that black women, well, obviously, but the women, so you listen to music because it fulfills a desire you have. Like if I have the emotion for sadness, I'll listen to sad music maybe. Black women tend to have this, this want for like things that are offensive and disgusting. They're like men in many ways. Black women are like men. And then
Sorry,
they're
someone
not very
said DM
feminine.
leak. Yeah, I'm helping a friend come into the church and someone put me in contact.
White women tend to be a lot more feminine than black women. And then coincidentally, white women happen to predominantly listen to peaceful stuff like Taylor Swift, and
Wait,
black women listen to rap. I mean, I don't. It doesn't
is the
seem,
is the middle ground we're
non-coincidental.
looking for K-pop?
No.
No, it's not. Yeah, I was wondering that 'cause, I think many would say in, like, a traditionalist, uh, format that, like, Asians kind of do have a lot of, like, the femininity level still there because I think many would say they're very untouched. Some are very
If you're
untouched by
Asian, you listen to
modernity.
K-pop, that's good. If you're white and you listen to K-pop, that's bad. That's the real take.
Mm. I will say if y I will say I have, like, 1 K-pop song on, like, a playlist, and it's, Cupid.
It's a good song.
You
Yeah.
know, the
Yeah, it's a good song.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But, like, besides that, I will say, whenever you're a European or you're white and you're listening to K-pop, a lot of times I've noticed, like, especially when they talk about it, they're annoying as
I mean, it's the
I mean,
female version of the anime heads. Not like all anime, but I think you know what I mean when I say the anime heads, the weebs that want to move to
I know,
Japan.
trust me, I know what you mean. Even within our circles, I know what you mean,
I know
but
who you're talking about.
yeah, we know. But still, with that, I think, yeah, I would just say though, is that although I think we both do agree with ourselves a lot because we are coming from like the same basis. But I think still, yeah, where you would agree with me is like uh just where, as I said, where things are going. Sure, it might be a big influence for that subgroup in a way, or like the general like half of the population of women. But I would say is like that is kind of like the issue to where everything is then dictated, especially when we're at a time to where you and I would both agree art has increasingly become at its ugliest. There's an increasing loss of the transcendentals. Uh, a lot of it is also just based off of sex. The great book, Degenerate Moderns from E. Michael Jones. Literally, there's like an entire chapter dedicated to hating Picasso because he
That's
quote
real.
in Picasso's words, he painted from his ball, and he was like a horrible. But it's like things like that to where it's almost like I'm willing to risk because it's like, would I rather have a slow decline but have things be more quiet or kind of just turn on a dial and risk it all by putting a more erratic superstar in power? It's like, I don't know. There's something about that type of like just, I mean, as coming from a guy, there's something appealing about that type of like raw energy. That's sort of like that muse, that creative swagger.
Muse. Sorry, I'm still sick. So I do want to move off the nuance perspective if we're both going to agree on that. We do have to sort of, JPEG's right, we do have to kind of give a show. And so I think we should point towards more disagreement, which is that I think fundamentally the biggest disparity we're going to find between arguing about Taylor Swift is the term beautiful, whether we would use the term
Dude,
beautiful
sorry, I
to
can't fucking
describe
take you seriously when you're showing your CDs on screen. It's like you're like, "Look at
Taylor
my Taylor
Swift,
Swift. Look at
Taylor
my
Swift,
1989 Taylor edition."
Taylor
Taylor's
Swift.
version.
This CD goes hard. This is my favorite. This is one of my favorite CDs. This one goes hard.
You need to kill yourself.
This is a good album.
Ah!
This is a really good album. Uh, but I think the term beautiful is actually where we should start the discussion, because in beginning intro you described it as it's sort of like slosh posh. It's cookie cutter,
Mhm,
and I would
mhm.
agree.
There's nothing.
It's cookie
Mhm.
cutter. It's minimalist, but I think that's its merit. You know, by the term beautiful, we would I think we both agree it's something in which represents nature an authentic and fundamental level in which the human appetite has a natural inclination for. In many manners, it's technical. So, like, a drawing is technical. You know, a beautiful drawing is technical. Beautiful singing, like Bruno Mars, Adele, is technical. You know, I think we both agree, like, Bruno Mars is a more beautiful singer than Taylor Swift or Kanye or whoever. Um, in that way, it's
I'm a meat
technical,
rider, so I can't talk.
but we also should include what is often left out of the conversation, which is if we're going to frame it based off of what the heart and mind has an inclination for, we need to make a discrepancy for the male and female definition of beauty, because it's very apparent, especially if you grow up in a two-parent household. What men and women like is very fundamentally different. I mean, even think about like rooms. Men sort of like the room messy naturally. Women are really into cleanliness and aesthetics. You know, your mother-in-law comes to your house and then she rearranges your silverware and then does your garden and then all this stuff. Like there's a very specific want that the female mind has for, and it's for simplicity. And so that by that very nature, Taylor Swift perfectly embodies beautiful by any form of manner you'd seek to define it if we're viewing it under what the female appetite has, you know, for.
To an extent, I would say I have a soft agreement, especially when you bring up the question of like the differences, the naturalism, etc. But I think where I would draw my disagreement is that it is then it is then good that I just because people are then drawn to these things does not then mean that, like in this instance for Taylor Swift, is then a good influence for them. Because I would still argue is like when you look at a lot of like, sure, it's minimalist, it has like a type of like maybe you could say beautiful simplicity towards it. I would still argue that maybe it's not inherently the best or like the most perfected version of the influence when it comes to these. I would say a lot of like the things oriented around uh, mm, lines like getting drunk in the back of the pickup, or like some of these things are, and obviously Kanye does escape from. See, it's insurmountably worse. But when we're talking about the differences of these, is that these would then still be disordered desires, this nature to be a rebel, not in the sense of, for example, uh, trying to be one's own man, visionary, a sort of like the story of a Greek hero, but that of a rebel against one's natural position, an Eve, if you will, in that type of
I'm
sense,
glad
or
you brought that up,
or even further, a Lilith, if you will.
because the story of Adam Eve, you know, women, and I think this comes to your inclination towards hating Taylor Swift fans and describing it by their political positions. Women are naturally egalitarian. That's not necessarily a
Mhm,
bad thing,
mhm,
because equality is important for being a mother and dealing with your kids' issues. But when it
mhm,
comes outside of the realm of, you know, parenting, when it comes towards wanting to, especially I describe it as uncontrolled femininity, which is to the purpose to where you are no longer controlled by a man or by God, and you seek to even yourself, not just, you know, even your kids out, but even yourself with man, become your own god, and even yourself out with God. And that's what Eve did. She tried to
Mhm.
become uncontrolled feminine, tried to become even with God and even with man. And that's why in Genesis 3, God reprimands Adam
Mhm.
for not for what Eve did. Adam gets reprimanded for what Eve does. And that's
Mhm.
why
Mhm.
in Genesis 3, the typical archetypes for male and females that we've seen throughout society are actually laid out in Genesis 3 by God. And then I think Paul talks about it. I think it's in Ephesians. He writes like, for it was like Eve who ate the apple first, and then that's why men need to, have a hold over women. And so
Yeah, and then we
fundamentally,
can see that further from, the Catechism of the Council of Trent, which is
yeah,
one of the few writings in the Catholic Church about the exact roles of men and women within marriage.
fundamentally, I mean, what we're describing here, which is music about loving a man for the most part, being in love all the time. That's good influence. Now, when it's something that now to add the nuance, when it's something that might be about like hating men, that could be seen obviously as bad influence.
Mhm,
So, I
mhm.
mean, obviously it depends on the turmoil of her life, what era she's in. I guess actually to use like the
Shut the
actual,
fuck
I was
up!
unintentional. That
I
was
can't take it
unintentional.
seriously
That was
when you say
unintentional. But I'm gonna say it now anyways. I'm doubling down, Easton. The era, depending on what era she's in, the Taylor Swift eras, Easton. Um,
shut
obviously would posit on that front, the severity of whether it's a good or bad thing for people to listen to. But the music from a constructional standpoint itself, most of it's in G major. Most of it has I think it's 1-4-1-5, which is the feminine chord
Mhm,
progression. That's what
mhm,
Max
mhm,
Martin, who has composed almost all pop songs that are relevant and written and produced most of her
mhm,
music. She produced this album and wrote this album. He produced this album and wrote this album. I believe he produced Bad Blood and also Blank Space and wrote those songs on this album. And so the very structural standpoint that makes those songs also things like Katy Perry's TGIF or Teenage Dream. So TGIF, Last Friday Night, E.T.
mhm.
What else is on that album? Firework, or her next album, which had Roar and Hot, and then Hot and Cold was also written by him, and then also Everybody by Backstreet Boys. These very like music that women listen to predominantly. In Sync's number one hit was written by Max Martin. They have a very fundamental, basic basis to them. And that's a good thing because women should be striving for basic things. It's when they strive for things that are complex is when they try to be a man. It's when they strive for extravagance or greatness actually. That's when the detriment is done to society, is when they try and do things. Almost everything that we could posit to be bad in society, outside of the things that were done by the Jews, were done by women. And
I
so
told bro to chill out before the stream. Let me talk about. You know what,
and
bro? If I
so
wanted E. Michael Jones on the show, I would have just invited him. He probably would have came on. But actually, really quickly, do you think EMJ is going to AFPA?
I don't know.
I would think so because it's like Fort Wayne, right? Well, he's from Fort Wayne, Indiana.
I'd expect if
Anyways,
if he confirmed he was going, he'd have
your
a
mic's messed up. Right?
awesome.
All right.
Is he good now?
I would say to a lot of it, uh,
Fixed it.
what?
I think I fixed it, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You
Yeah,
did, you
it's
did.
it switched to my
All right.
camera input somehow.
It is funny that JPEG is still going on about how this sucks because no one's yelling at each other. It's because I'm a lover, dog. Just chill out. Hey, I love everyone. Even Swifties like Carter, Eureka.
I'm not a Swifty. I'm not a Swifty.
You have all of her CDs.
No, no, I don't.
You have 4.
5.
How many? Oh, okay, dog. You know what? Kill yourself. How about that?
No, I don't think I will.
That sounds gay. Yeah. It's like here's the thing. Here's the thing. Here's the thing. Well, what was it? I had, like I was building my, like, train of thought, like, while you were talking
Stumped.
when it
He
came to
lost. He lost.
using it. No, shut up, shut up.
He lost.
Hey, hey,
Let everyone
hey,
laugh at this guy. Laugh at this guy. Everyone laugh at this guy.
shut up, shut up. No, 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 no. I had my train of thought. I had, like, a proper thing. I would just still say to a lot of it is maybe I'm just picking it's not far enough when it comes to a lot of it because this is the disorder that comes from her personal life in having these types of whether it be these philosophical views that she perpetuates or having this type of like sure the music itself is cookie cutter, it's basic, it's good for women, what have you, sure, if we were to grant you that from that then it would still be there has got to be a point because people they see like Swifties see
Swifty's
Taylor
nuts.
Swift.
Ha ha. Got him.
Okay.
Swifty's nuts.
Swifties see Taylor like how I see Kanye in a lot of ways. They see her like I see Kanye. I see him as like this epic gargantuan, larger than life figure. But they see her maybe in a slightly different way. But what they see is her as a big influence on them. They go to their concerts, they cry at like every single fucking song.
You talking about like
And
the
then,
TikTok where like the girls are crying to exile?
yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's like
Folklore.
they
It's a
are
good song.
looking at her life under a microscope. And then what are they going to see over and over again? Break up here, here with a new guy, break up here, here with a new guy, break. And it's not to say that artists cannot have personal issues in that sense. Frank Sinatra, we both love Frank Sinatra, multiple marriages. It's why Dean Martin better because he was a staunch Sicilian Catholic. So it's why I mean Sinatra was a Catholic, but he was like a libtard, theologically speaking. Uh, but still, point is, when it comes to the term libtard is just so funny. It's hard not to use
I
it.
wrote. I was getting an onboarding for some meeting, and we were. I'm getting. Do you know what Freedom H2O is?
Yeah, I do. I do act.
I'm getting onboarded for that, and they were talking about like how Death Liquid and all these like water companies are like libtards. And I just wrote in my notes. I wrote Fiji, Dasani are all libtards. Drink Freedom 2O or something like that.
That's so funny. It the use of it unironically is really quickly though, Dasani tastes like shit. It's
Real.
so
Okay, real. Real.
it tastes like you dropped a nickel in
Yeah,
every bottle. You
exactly.
dropped a nickel. I haven't
Okay,
checked
so I would
chat.
actually, I'd agree. I think Taylor is a far better, her music is better for women than she is for women on a personal basis as a
Mhm.
figure. That in which I could agree. However, she's still searching for a man. So it's not like she has said,
Don't
I give up. I'm going to
it
be
might be
alone. I'm going to die at 40 and I'm fine with that. She still views herself as dependent on a man for happiness, for
Carter, do you see
desire.
that really
That's her biggest
quickly?
desire. So even if she's
I mean,
34,
in a way, I would agree that is a soft positive,
in fact,
but that
her last boyfriend, she tried to marry and he didn't want to marry her. And so it's not even that like she's
I hate that
discouraging
you know
marriage.
this. I
Joe
hate more
Alwyn,
than anything.
Joe
I
Alwyn,
think
she wanted to
I think
marry.
I automatically win because you know this,
It's
and
crazy
that's
because you
sad.
started off and you're like terrible figure, and then you had to concede this, and then you had to concede this, and then it's like, well, now we're gonna move it towards this
You're playing
position,
word games. You're playing
and
semantics.
now we
Look at
gotta move it to
this.
this position.
What
Yeah,
is
I
this?
know.
I click on this, and what is this? This is
That's the new
erotica.
album cover. That's why I bought this
Yeah,
one
so
because the other one's disgusting.
yeah, so what is this? This is a I'm gonna get that off. It's everywhere. I'm gonna it's
What
erotic.
is this? What
This
is
is what
this,
I'm
Easton?
saying.
Hey, Easton, what's this? What's this, Easton? What's this, Easton?
Hey,
What are they doing here?
I
What are
thought
they
we
doing
said
here?
men and women are different. I thought we said men and women are different.
Okay, thank you, Easton.
And I won't disagree. My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, the instrumental is fantastic. That album gets glazed way too hard though. However, here's
Wrong.
the thing: is that we were just talking about the influence and the simple music. Then what do we open it up? It's erotic. These are what I think this shows is anything is like maybe at one point in an era it was like that, but now it's regressing. The chains of modernity are slowly getting tighter in a sense. It's like, oh, how do I stay ahead? How do I appeal to this very young, very impressionable fan base? Oh, let me go very erotic with you. This is bad news,
That's
Carter.
actually regrettably, I'd actually agree with you on that front. There's actually a graphic I could show you where in her first like 5 or so albums, she didn't curse at all, and then her cursing has exponentially increased across each album, and that's
Mm,
not
mm,
just her cursing, but the matter like Reputation, which is my favorite album because it's like Reputation is garnered towards men, even though it's like females. Like it's probably like the most like if a man were to listen to an album, this would be the one that men would listen to the most because it's like trap, it's niche in sound, it seeks to do something, it's like bassy, it's synthy, and
mhm,
so in many ways, it's not peaceful, even if it's compositionally very peaceful. It's still very daring, more daring than the other albums. And in that album, I mean, she starts to embrace things like alcoholism. So regrettably, and
mhm.
that's become a bigger topic in her music. And especially in her recent album, she has a song where it's called I think it's called "The Smallest Man in the World," where she's referring to something disgusting like a dude's genital size and mocking him for that. However,
Mm, mm.
even within that album, obviously she is in some way conforming to the rapid degeneracy that's increasing within America and across the world. The character she's playing is still, in some ways, also, you could say, even if it's very sexual in manner, a lot more idealistic than other things we could point to. And there is some idealistic qualities because the whole album is literally just like she like breaks up with this dude and then that's terrible for her. She needs men, basically, is what the album's about. She needs
Mm.
men. Women need men in a basis. And so when we're comparing it to something like, I don't know, Sexy Red, which is about, I don't know, shaking your butt on a dude and just using men for sex and then, being, or some feminist anthem, because we aren't getting rid of female. Like, we need to be, I mean, we can be idealistic, but we should be pragmatic in this. We're not getting rid of women as listeners of music. Women are going to listen to music. And so it's doing a much bigger disservice to talk against artists, which are doing a lot more in favor of keeping some form of conservatism or at least something that we want to idolize among women compared to something that's more degenerative, which, we know exists.
I just wanna say, if Vultures never came out, your entire argument would have just been blown out of the water. Because I could have said, "Jesus King, Donda, we have an icon who's fighting back," and, you know, but I do get what you're saying there, but I think this is kind of like a very almost interesting middle ground that we've reached in a sort of sense, maybe leaning towards like Swift is all right for this demographic,
I
for
mean, is that the
all of,
middle ground if that's my position? Because it sounds like you're disagreeing with my position.
I think you should, I don't know, don't look a gift horse in a mouth. How about that?
So what you're saying
But
is
hold
Swift
on, hold
victory.
on. I just want to pull this up because I was listening this earlier. Let me get the audience's attention because I'm this is what's gonna make me skits out. Okay. I was listening to you're listening to Taylor Swift on shuffle.
You took the money and your
Hold on.
dignity and got the hell
Why
out.
is
Where
Bro
you gonna go?
working?
I don't
I
know.
think he knows. If a man talks shit, then I owe him nothing. I don't regret it one bit, cause he had it coming. Good thing.
This is literally how did it change songs? This is the same song. Literally,
We're
listen,
getting
this
the
is like the
bridge of
same
most of
song
the
just
songs.
later.
One of those songs was a trap song with a heavy synth bass. The other was a country song
He had
from
it
Red,
coming.
I believe, or Speak
Feeling
Now.
right, I'm
And
no
then one of those was a
dandy,
song from
that's
Reputation, which
mine.
is a synth bass album. In many ways, her music is sort of similar. Like there's a lot of artists like their albums are all sort of similar.
Mhm.
And then something that, Kanye is known for, every album is its own sound. In many ways,
That's what I
Taylor's
was
music
about to.
is similar. Even if the bridges sound similar, they are all their own styles and genres. This is a folk album. This is a pop album. This is a synth-based trap album. This is a minimalist
Shot.
with folk
Which
implementations album.
one has
And
Kendrick
this is a
Lamar on it?
country and pop album. That's a 1989 Bad Blood
Mm.
featuring Kendrick.
I just know because Drake that, and I hate Drake. So, anyways, but it's like that's what I'm talking about.
Now, I don't want to compare it to Kanye. Kanye's music is obviously way more different, but I do think it's a fair comparison.
I think I just fell in love with a porn star. Turn the camera on, she a porn star.
I hate the lyrics of that song, but the
Yeah, hell of a
the
lot. It's a good
Iron Man
song,
sample is so awesome. It's fuck, what's the song?
Hell of a Life.
It's not Blame Game.
Hell of a
What?
Life. Hell of a Life.
Hell of a Lie. Yeah. Blame Game sucks. I don't know
You
why
are
people.
so wrong. You are so incorrect.
Okay.
You are
know what?
so
Maybe we have to-
incorrect.
maybe we have to move
You
on
are
to Kanye.
so
We have to get
incorrect.
to Kanye debate.
The sample from
Heat?
Aphex Twin
Okay.
is so good. I mean, the production on the
The
sample
song
sucks.
is boring.